Welcome again to Fifth Wheelers Australia in Ballarat, Victoria. Today we're going to install a 3-inch gooseneck kit in a new CHEV 1500. This is a dual cab. Here's the tub. The hole that goes in the floor is 805mm from the end of the tub here where the spray line is sprayed on, 805mm to the centre of the ball. The hole size is 92mm in the floor, the hole saw. And that puts it about 160mm rear of the diff. If you're trying to work out if your fifth wheel is going to spin or your gooseneck's going to spin, it's about 160mm rear of the diff. But yeah, this is our starting point. I'll go ahead now and show you the rest of the install. The starting point for installing the hitch is this locating bolt, which goes in this oval factory cutout in the chassis, just above the axle. There's a retaining plate that goes on the inside, and these pull wires are provided in the kit. You put the pull wire on your 1/2-inch bolt, square, you put it in the retaining plate. You push it all in and shove it into the chassis, and then give it a rattle like that, and it'll come back out like so, and the plate stops it from pulling through the chassis. Then we provide you with this little oval shaped plate. This is to take up the space in the thickness of the chassis. That slides on. Then once that's there, we pull this wire off. So drag that wire off like that. And then we give you this little flat plate. And then wind this plate right on. And that's the process. The next part of the job is to install the chassis rail. They're both the same. I've already put the front one in. You pass it through between the chassis and the tub, and as you push it through, before it gets all the way through, get your partner under there who's helping you, these two 5/8 coach bolts need to be dropped in place from the top. So once they're through there, Paul will put those in, and then you lift it up onto the last rail on the other side. You can see I've done it already with the front one. And then as that goes through, and onto the other rail behind the shocker. And what you're looking for is it to be flush here for the plate to go on. Next part of the process is to install the outer chassis plate. We're working on the driver's side car in Australia. Just thought I'd show you the differences. The passenger plate's got a pull handle in it. That's where the pull handle comes out, that big oval. That hasn't. The two brackets used on the other side, the internal straps, one's got oval holes, one's got 3 holes, and this one's a bit skinnier. The two on this side are exactly the same. Righto, so these two straps are the same. And we're going to install this now. So it's a pretty simple process. Lift her up with that facing forward. That's going to go over the locating bolt that we installed in step number 1. And grab your 1/2-inch washer and spring washer and the 1/2-inch nut. And that'll go on there, onto that locating bolt, and that's going to do up. You can snug that up while you're positioning everything else. The straps go behind these two bolts with long coach bolts through from this side, strap, and then there's 2 big bolts that go in here to secure the rails. I'll show you that next. Righto, here we are under the CHEV 1500. One of the first jobs you want to do when you get it up on the hoist, take the spare out. Take out this U-shaped spare wheel cover that runs around there. Then you want to cut out this aluminium heat shield, which goes above the diff and the exhaust. And to do that, give it a roll with them and left and right, so they'll cut that out. And you want to take down the exhaust. So there's a flange here, undo the exhaust, take that tailpipe out, another bolt here. And pull the rubbers, bit of CRC or WD on those 2 rubbers. That'll let you lower this down. So we've poked the rail through. These are called 5/8 carriage bolts. They come in the kit. You've got to put these 5/8 carriage bolts in the square holes up here. You need to do it first because then you're going to roll this up and then they're hard under the floor. That's why we had to put them in. Get a mate to do up the 2 bolts, the 16mm bolts on each end of the rail. So once you've got that in, you can then put the spacers on. The spacers on your coach bolts there, top and bottom, and then these two identical internal plates, they go on here, and that clamps the chassis in place with the brackets, and that is pretty well how that goes. Same at the front. We go over to the other side, it's a little bit different. We got a thin internal clamp with oval shaped holes. That goes in this back corner, and the reason for that is the top shock mount and this round bar gets in the road. So that's how that one goes. Remember your tube, your squash tube. The front one's already on. It's got a bracket here to hold the fuel line, so there's a third hole in the middle. There's a hole in the middle there, and we give you longer bolts, so that goes in through that hole. It's slightly offset, it only goes on one way, and you do that up, and then we have a spacer and another long bolt, and it goes in behind. I'm not sure if the cameraman can see that, but that spacer goes in there, and then you do that one up. So that reinstates the bracket as it is. So then we've got our 4 bolts hanging on our 2 rails. The next thing we'll show you is to put the hole in and put the centre box up. Now we're just going to show you how we drilled the hole in the floor. 805 millimetres from the end of the spray liner on the back of the tray, right at the bed of the tray where the tailgate comes down. 805 mil, put in a small drill, and then open it up with a 92 mil hole saw. Just count the flutes across the floor and get the centre line. 92 mil hole saw. We've painted around, filed and painted around the edge. Now, to make the install of the centre box easy, I've put a tie down strap through the pin in the middle, and I've got a mate upstairs who's going to pull it up there for me. So we've got the 5/8 bolts hanging out of the rails. We're going to lift that up there above that exhaust and locate, just drop it down a bit and locate that there. Then we use a cone, that's called a cone washer, and a 5/8 nut, and we put the 4 of those on and do them up. And then once that's done, while you're under here, we can put the handle in. So the straight handle comes in. There's a slot in the passenger side rail. It comes through, and then an R clip goes in that hole on the spring-loaded pin. All right, the next thing we do is torque up all the nuts. The first thing to do is torque up the centre box, which is 5/8 nuts there. Then you want to do the 2 16 mil bolts into the end of the rail through the chassis plate, 2 that side and 2 on that side. Then there's 8 12 mil nuts to do on the chassis straps each side, 4 there, 4 there. Do up your little brake bracket. There's 2 to do there. And then on the outside of the plates, there's the original locating studs that are in the factory holes. They're 1/2 inch. You want to do those up. So there's just one thing left to do at the end of the install is put this compliant sticker on the pillar. Generally we put them in the driver's door. And that just states that the hitch that we put in the vehicle has been tested by Fifth Wheelers Australia. There's a corresponding sticker with the part numbers that will be adhered to the hitch when you purchase it. You can put them in yourself, or you can call in and see us at Fifth Wheelers Australia in Ballarat, Victoria, and we'll install it for you.